Remember, remember the 5th of November, the Gunpowder Treason and Plot. I know of no reason why the Gunpowder Treason should ever be forgot. The opening lines of the rhyme that commemorates the Gunpowder Plot and Guy Fawkes. But despite being caught red-handed at the scene of the crime, Fawkes was not the ringleader of the plot. Let's look at the background that led up to that fateful day. Scottish monarch James VI acceded to the throne of England, becoming James I in 1603. James had angered Catholics after failing to offer them the toleration of their religious practices that they craved. Instead, he persecuted some in a series of grisly public executions for political advantage. Anti-James sentiment reached boiling point, and in 1604 Gunpowder Plot mastermind Robert Catesby decided that enough was enough. He concocted a scheme to blow up Parliament and kill James the following year. The plot was intended as the first step in a rebellion during which James's 9-year-old daughter could be installed as a Catholic head of state. Catesby's co-conspirators included Thomas Winter, Robert Winter, John Wright, Christopher Wright, Robert Keyes, Thomas Percy, John Grant, Ambrose Rookwood, Sir Everard Digby, Francis Tresham, and Catesby's servant Thomas Bates. The explosives were prepared by Guido Fawkes, a man with 10 years military experience fighting with the Spanish against Dutch freedom fighters in the Spanish Netherlands. The assassination attempt ultimately failed when conspirators had reservations about blowing up fellow Catholics in Parliament. They resolved to warn a number of their co-religionists, a move which sealed their fate. William Parker, the 4th Baron Monteagle, received an anonymous letter while at his house in Hoxton, East London. He had it read out aloud, possibly to warn the plotters that their secret was out, and handed it over to Robert Cecil, James's Secretary of State, who had been instrumental in his accession to the English throne. Cecil then hatched a plan to catch the would-be assassins in the act and round them all up. The conspirators learned of the letter the following day but went ahead with their plan anyway, especially after Fawkes inspected the undercroft beneath Parliament and found that nothing had been touched. Later, on November the 5th, a search party discovered Fawkes, who was placed under arrest, and his possessions were searched. He was found to be carrying a pocket watch, matches and torchwood. Enough barrels of gunpowder to obliterate the building above were hidden beneath the pile of firewood. Under torture, on November the 7th, 1605, Fawkes confessed that he had not acted alone, and the full extent of the plot was unearthed. The plotters were all executed, apart from Catesby and Percy, who had already been killed in a last stand while they resisted capture. Their bodies were exhumed and their heads were impaled on spikes outside the House of Lords. And so ended the Gunpowder Plotters. A tradition that still remains is to burn a guy as an effigy and let off fireworks on November the 5th. Another tradition that has pretty much died out, but that I did when I was a boy, was called Penny for the Guy, where you'd make a guy out of old clothes stuffed with newspaper or fallen leaves to be burned on the bonfire. Before it was burned, in the days leading up to bonfire night, you'd sit out with it and say penny for the guy, and people would occasionally give you money. It was essentially begging, I suppose, and it has since been overshadowed by the increasingly popular Halloween and trick-or-treating. Ironically, this could be seen as a return to tradition rather than an erosion, however, as it is thought that the lighting of bonfires is actually an echo of Samhain rituals that were co-opted to mark the Gunpowder Plot. Samhain is intrinsically linked to the later Halloween, although the modern celebration of Halloween has become so commercialised as to bear little or no resemblance to Samhain. In fact, the traditional British bonfire night is probably closer to the original pagan festival, with fires and feasting taking place at outdoors gatherings. That's it for this video. Don't forget to like, share, and most importantly subscribe. And you can also support the channel on Subscribestar via the link in the description. Thanks for watching.